If I was in your place, I would just go visit all the bookshelves just to make sure that it's there.
I did when it first came out. Yeah.
Like, which
Sure, I
bookstore
definitely
today are
did.
you visiting? This one, today, that one.
Yeah, I did. And I was like, let me come and let me sign some copies as well, so that,
Yes.
some yeah, and they had like a little sticker signed by the author.
What made you write the book?
Um, a few things, because I have always wanted to write.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to paint as well, but every time I
Mm.
try, I'm like, I'm not very good at that. But I always wanted to write, and the same thing. I just kept thinking, I don't know if I'm very good at that. But then I was very busy singing, and then COVID, so I wasn't busy singing at all. And I'd already made loads of notes about this idea that I had in my head about a dead girl, and what if the dead still have a conscious, like the soul can still think, and it's looking down at the body and going, oh my God. Even funny things like, oh God, I look fat, and oh no, they're looking at my
Yeah.
cellulite, or oh God, I didn't wax, things like that, So I put all these ideas together, and then, yeah, pretty much finished it in a few months. And the reason why I was thinking all these things is because my nephew died. He was only 24. And because at his funeral we were giggling a lot, and I don't know, I just kind of felt like he was there. Things that he would have found hilarious, we were finding hilarious, and it was just kind of inappropriate. But I kept thinking, I think he's here. You
I think
feel
he's
like
with
his
us.
presence is here. Yeah. So that idea just stayed with me for a long time. So in the end, I just ended up writing a book. But I wrote it from a girl's perspective, because I'm a girl, and I know how we tick better than boys. And yeah, just for all these different things that have been bothering me for years about our culture, and the erroneous teachings of Islam as well. And yeah, I just had a lot. I had a lot to say,
Tell me
and so I
about it.
didn't
Like,
really worry.
what's your backstory, Salha? Who is Saleh?
Ooh. Okay, so let's geographically. My parents are from Zanzibar, so both of them are. But there's a lot of mixing here on the east coast of Africa, from Arabia, Persia, India, Far East as well. So I am a lot of those, and South Africa. My great great grandfather's Irish, like white Irish. So I have a lot of mixing. So mix wise, that's my parents left Zanzibar the revolution and met in England. And so my brother and I were born there. So we're British born, educated, and lived in Bahrain for a bit, and then came back to boarding school in England. And so I've always wanted to sing. So I've always been a bit of a performer. Much to my parents' delight when I was a kid, because it's really cute when you're 5. And then when you're 27 and insisting on being a singer, it's not so cute. So yeah, I've always wanted to perform and create. And it's funny because my dad, my mum, they're both artists, They like drawing, they like singing, my mum's a great dancer, but that's not really a career, right? It's a hobby. Where are you from, Reza?
I'm from Syria. I can relate
Okay,
totally to what you're saying.
exactly. That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yes, like, because in our culture, for some reason, there's this perspective that if you're like, you would only succeed in life if you're an engineer, doctor, or something with a good title, as they say.
Yes, exactly. A traditional career. And in fact, I studied languages at university. So my dad, thinking outside the box, he was like, you could be a diplomat and travel the world. And yeah, he was very encouraging of this sort of
Trying to
businesswoman
sell you the idea.
daughter. Yeah, exactly. It would have been a good alternative if I hadn't been determined to be an artist.
You have been determined against the flow. How hard was it to get to where you are now after, let's say, the pushback from family? Because family usually have a huge influence in our life. And if they are not supportive in such a decision, you're going to find problems.
Yeah. I think there's two answers to that. One of them is that I went to boarding school when I was 11. So I didn't really grow up with my family molding me completely. So I wasn't going completely against the grain when it came time for me to rebel, let's say, because I'd been independent this whole time anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so, and the other part is that when you're an artist, when that really is in your blood and you can't do anything except that. You know, I got my degree in in languages and I tried to get a regular job in an office, but it's something that you can't, it's immutable. You can't suppress
Yes.
it. And it's going to come out anyway, right? If you're going to put the thumb on the hose, it's going to come spurting out either way, right? The water's going to come, and actually probably more aggressively. So, yeah, I actually moved to Oman, and that's where I began my singing career, which is kind of counterintuitive.
True.
Yeah, because I had been living in Los Angeles before that, and London and Germany, and you think that those were more places that you could
Yes.
start a singing career. But it was actually when I moved to Oman, and I guess it was because I haven't had any training in singing or anything like that, that it was easier for me to be a big fish in a small pond. So starting in Muscat, do you know what I mean? It wasn't up
Yes.
against all these professionals who'd had all this training in Los Angeles, who had like, I remember my friend had a business card with his photograph on it, and I was like, I'm so unprepared for this industry. Had no training at all. So yeah, it was kind of fortuitous that I went to Oman and started there, and then moved to Dubai, which is where I spent almost 20 years singing.
Singing. So how did it start in Oman? How did your journey start over there?
I met this really cool Scottish girl who played keyboards and saxophone, and her husband played drums. And they were doing a gig, and they said, "Do you want to do some backing singing for us?" So I made 200 dirhams doing that, and it was the
Lovely.
best thing. Job the next day.
I think you might have that 200 dirham puzzle in the wall until now.
No, I had to spend it. I was broke.
Tell me about it.
I wish I did. You know what? I really wish I had that 20 reals somewhere. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, no, I needed the money back in those days. Yeah, but like literally, I quit my job the next day. My mum had helped me buy a car, and I just kept gigging and paid her off, and just kept gigging. And then Oman is very small. Muscat is very small. There's not enough people there to come and see gigs. So I'd sung for everybody. You know, so I
No
decided
more
to.
Omani who have interest in me.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? There's like very few venues and not that many people who want to come and see the same show again and again. So, yeah, I moved to Dubai in 2002.
2002. And how
Yeah,
did you start over here? How did your journey continue? So from Oman to
actually,
Dubai.
so I was singing in the Intercon in Muscat, and the manager there moved to Dubai. So back
Mm.
in those days, in 2002, there weren't that many five-star hotels. So I went to pretty much all of them. And in those days, it was like a CD with my songs, my photograph, and on the backside, stapled to it was where I had sung, what my education, my CV, basically.
Love those
And
days.
and I dropped it off. Yeah, exactly. Like having to go around and drop it off. There's
Yes.
nothing more sophisticated than that. Please check out my Instagram. It was like driving around and dropping it off. And there was the Royal Mirage. I can't even remember, but I remember the Royal Mirage was one of them, and the Crown Plaza was another one of the hotels that I dropped it off. And luckily, Anthony Lydiard, he saw it on the F&B manager's desk, and I'm sure it would have been ignored if he hadn't seen it. So I thank God all the time, and I thank Anthony all the time. He saw it and he was like, "That's Salha. What is it?" And the guy says, like, "She's looking for a job." And he said, "Well, you better get her." So I did 3 months at the Crown Plaza. Usually when you do a contract, singing contract. You do 3 months at a time, and they kept extending me and
Renewing.
extending me. Yeah, and then I did the Intercon in Beirut as well, and then came back and did it again, and then I decided to go freelance after that in 2005.
You seem like someone who found something which they are passionate about. Does singing make you feel fulfilled about life?
Um, yes, I mean, especially at the beginning. Um,
Especially at the beginning.
yes, especially at the beginning, because it was sort of very pure.
Uh,
When I was singing at the piano bar, it was hard. It was 6 nights a week. Doesn't matter how you feel, you got to get up. And I remember I broke up with uh, my dear boyfriend, and I had to go on between set 2 and set 3. We broke up, and I had to go back on and sing.
mm,
It's a hard slog, and it's training ground
yeah.
of how to be a professional, about how to keep going, about how to make a song fresh every time you sing it,
Mm,
about how to feel the lyrics and interpret what somebody else has written as if you had written it yourself,
mm,
how to be a good performer. So there was really good training ground for me at the Crown Plaza. And when I first it was Eid after Ramadan, December 2002, and it was my first night, and said boyfriend was there, and then there was like some guy and a lady of the night in the corner, and that was it. I was like, what is this job that I've taken? By the end of 2005, there were people sitting on the floor. There was people everywhere. It was like a fire hazard by the end. It was such a nice gig. And so then I thought, well, I've outgrown it here, I guess. So I moved on. And so what happens when what I say at the beginning, again, when I started my band, every single gig was a great experience. It was a learning experience. It was hard. I would say to the client, is it a jazz gig? So I'd get jazz musicians. And then, oh, is it a party gig? I'd get party musicians. And then in the end, I just chose the musicians that could do everything and full time. And nobody had a day job anymore. Because before, it's just like somebody was a teacher and they play with me at
yeah.
night. These guys, we were busy all the time. And then it becomes, you're attaching the thing that you love to a dollar sign, right? So then it becomes a career. Now you've got people depending on you. Now you've got all the other things, the trappings that you have to, like a mortgage. I had a mortgage. I promised myself I would never have a mortgage. So like you have all these other things that don't make it just music.
Yeah, doesn't make it only about the singing, the pure purpose which you started for.
Exactly. But it doesn't matter, because when you get on stage, even though I've sung I Will Survive probably 3,200,000 times, give or take,
Plus or
I
minus.
plus or minus, I don't know, but I love it every single time. So it doesn't matter all the stuff that you have to deal with the clients and go to meetings, and like sometimes they take you to meetings and then they say, and then we're going to serve the soup at 7:15. I'm like, I don't need to know this. But every time you get on stage, it's great. And
how
the
do you
the band,
keep how do you keep this like freshness every time when you want to sing something every time?
I don't know. It's just music.
Uh,
And you're making it, right? You're not listening to it. You're making it with these guys, the 4 guys behind you. And especially when the $1 Million Band was the same 5 of us for years. We knew each other. I could turn around and look at somebody and they know that we're going to the bridge next,
yeah.
or that this song isn't working. Let's move on to the next song. Or I go like this, turn around, do this, and they go, we're going to play Happy next.
Yeah.
Right? So it was so tight. And there's joy as well from the audience, right? So at first I was afraid. People start going mad, right? They start running from the bar to the dance floor. There's so much joy in that. And like I said, it doesn't matter how many times you play a song, you start that Uptown Funk bass line,
Yeah.
and you're just like, yeah, that sounds good, yeah. And yeah, you
Here
just
we
love
go.
it, right? You were feeling that as well, weren't you? So you just, yeah, you find joy in it every time. I mean, I'm just trying to think if there are any songs that I don't enjoy playing, and there aren't. Otherwise, I wouldn't put them in my
Or
repertoire.
let's sing it, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So from Dubai, where did life take you after? Where are you currently in life? And tell me what happened in between Dubai to where you are now.
Um, so, okay, geographically, again, we're in Zanzibar. Where are we in life?
Like to the point
Um,
where you wrote the book. Like how did the book
yes.
writing journey start?
Okay, so you remember I was saying like how, when it was pure, I was really enjoying it. And then it started becoming a bit about the money and a bit about the clients. And then some clients were like, how many Instagram followers do you have? And I'm like, don't you want to know if I can sing or not? Like, if these are my
I
experiences.
think this is
So
why I should be here.
yeah, I mean, so I started getting a little bit fed up of it. So COVID kind of came at a really nice time because I needed a break. And that's not how you want to feel about the thing that you're passionate about.
Mm.
Yeah. So when COVID came, honestly, my husband and I, we were happy. We were so happy. I'm getting the memories now of lockdown. It was like day 7 in the Big Brother house, and we were like listening to podcasts together and painting and like blindfold listening to records on his amazing stereo. And we
Yeah,
were coming up with something every day. And then every day I would write. So, in the end, finished my first, can I?
sure, of
My
course.
first novel, The End of Summer.
The end of summer.
And um, that was very cathartic for me. A lot of things that I wanted to say. So I finished it. And like I said, I didn't think about how eloquent it was or, how poetic the prose was. It was just blah, 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 stream of consciousness. And then my best friend read it and he said, it's actually really good. You should try and publish it. So meanwhile, we were sitting there in our house. Neither of us were working because my husband's a photographer. And the mortgage was
Piling
there.
up.
Yes, that dreaded mortgage that I promised I would never have. And yeah, and we weren't making any money. So we started having to think about, like, to rethink everything. So we decided to move to Zanzibar because we had a little house here.
Mhm,
And we bought land here like in 2013.
mhm.
So yeah, we decided to move here and just see what happens. We used to love coming here. We got married here, in fact, and it
Mm,
is wonderful for a holiday.
mhm.
And then we realized, oh, it's completely different when you live here. Because our house was really tiny and none of our stuff fit in it, so we had to extend it. And just dealing with contractors and workers here was eye opening.
Not
It
as
was not just
convenient as
eye
you may
opening.
think.
No, it wasn't just inconvenient or eye opening. It was heartbreaking, to be
Why?
honest with you. Guess we just weren't used to it. A lot of people took advantage of the fact that we
Mm,
just come from Dubai. Don't ever say Dubai because they just hear ka-ching.
exactly.
Um,
They start seeing you as
yeah,
like a pile of gold walking around.
just ATMs, just walking around, just ready, fat. um, it was very hard. And it wasn't just that, it was also leaving Dubai. I had to sell things like my piano, which was heartbreaking as well.
Mm,
I know it was quite um, it was quite a revelation getting rid of material things because I had a lot of performing clothes and shoes, and I got rid of a lot of them, gave them to other musicians and singers. But some of them was like, oh my god, I remember buying these shoes, finding this bargain, and it was less the attachment to a material thing than an
yeah.
emotional attachment to some of them. And then also letting go of my career was really hard. It still is, you know. I keep saying you don't sing, you are a singer.
Mm.
It's not what I do, it's who I am. So that's been hard.
With that being said, do you think that being a singer is something that you are born with, or can you develop it by time?
Um, I think you're definitely born with it. You can definitely improve your vocals, with exercises but I think um, the artist part of you, the expression part of you is born in you. Like, I'm definitely a performer. I'm not the best singer in the world, but I'm definitely a performer. This is why I say you interpret songs, you make it fresh every time, you entertain the audience. That's my job. I'm an entertainer. And I was definitely born with that. I was always, I must have been such a precocious kid as well. like I said, it's cute when you're a kid. I just always wanted to sing and perform for people. I think people are born with that.
Salha, growing up
Yes.
against the flow of the culture, for a man, it must be very tough. But I feel that for a woman, it might have been even harder. So, what can you tell me about your journey, like culturally wise? Have you been facing, let's say, any negative clashes between your environment and where you want to be?
Uh, yes. Yes, is the short answer to that. I have experienced some. My parents met in London. They're Zanzibari, so they're not that traditional. Um, they're quite
Mhm.
open-minded. However, having moved to Oman, they've become more and more and more traditional, in keeping with the Joneses or the
Mhm.
Al Joneses.
Yeah.
So the so definitely the burden is heavier for girls, right? So
Mhm.
if my brother, none of us can very conventional.
Yeah.
My brother is an adventurer, so he also doesn't have a conventional job. He was the first Arab to walk to the North Pole and to row
Oh, I
across the
love it.
Atlantic. Yeah, he's touched. Um, all these crazy things, and that's okay. That he doesn't want to get married and have kids, but it's kind of weird for me. Honestly, my mum was so happy that I actually found a husband. I was like pushing 40 when we got married, so at least I'm not that weird. But so, for example, there was I was always in the newspapers and magazines back in the noughties
Mhm.
and early teens, and sometimes they would be in Oman as well, or people would call my mom and say, "Oh, your daughter is in the magazine and she's wearing this and that and the other."
Mhm.
Um, so there was a lot of that. You know what? For me, I don't care.
Yeah.
Doesn't say what you like about me. You don't pay my bills. But for my mom, it's not nice to get those phone calls. She feels like she's being judged, and I have to keep telling her, "So what? How are their children doing? Like, don't they shouldn't be calling you up about yours? And if they do, stick up for me.
Yeah.
I'm a professional. you know, have property. I'm not like just some silly musician that's, wearing hot pants and getting on stage every night. I'm a career woman. So, but, it's hard for them to go up against everybody else. I don't care,
Like I've been
personally.
wondering, like, why is it that people usually have this tendency to intrude on the life of others as if their opinion matters? Because I've seen that heavily in the environment and culture where I live as well. I don't know why they feel entitled to propose their opinion as if it matters. I don't know.
Um, I don't know either. I don't know why they feel like they have to. Um, Sometimes it's under the guise of, "Oh, I'm just trying to be a good cousin by calling you and
Mm.
letting you know what your daughter is doing." And, honestly, just leave me there for 6 months. Actually be like, "Yes, and where's your daughter?" Like, stop throwing stones. And actually, I deal with this a lot in the end of summer about the hypocrisy in a small community. I say
Mm.
a small community. Our community is the Zanzibari Omanis. It's a very big community in Oman, but everybody's up in everybody else's business. And like I said, my mum didn't, and this is her own journey. I'm not saying anything about my mum, but like other people, they never used to cover their hair. But when they get to Oman, they're kind of, well, everybody else is. And
Forced to.
I feel like perhaps I should, and everybody's looking at me weird. And even now, if I go to the mall there and I'm just wearing a top and trousers, I feel like people are looking at me
Like, who's this
my,
person
I've got
who came
skinny
over here?
jeans. Yeah, exactly. And they don't even treat me like I'm Omani because I'm not dressed like one. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why people, if it's they're trying to genuinely keep the community a safe and pious place, or if they're just being judgy and just want to get one up on everybody else, because everybody's got their demons behind their closed doors, right?
Very true.
And you know, I like I said, I really deal with a lot of this in the book. You know that I'm not giving anything away. In the first chapter, Summer is the end of Summer. It's Summer is a girl, and
Is the
she,
name of the character in the book?
yes, Summer, yeah.
Love it.
She wakes up, well, she doesn't wake up, but she's dead. So she kind of comes to realization, and she looks at her body, and she's looking at herself in the bathroom, but she's looking at herself from above, and she's like confused. And it's not until her sister comes into the bathroom that she actually realizes that she's dead, and that is her soul looking down at her body. And she has died in the bathroom, but she can't remember why, but there's also some drugs in the bathroom. Yeah. And the only reason I wrote about this is because I found out that there's drugs in Oman. I had no idea, but a cousin told me. And I was like, that's interesting because they like to talk about me singing. And yet there's people going and putting their children into rehab and still talking about me. So it's kind of a little bit of a scream against like hypocrisy, double standards, all of that stuff.
I see. Actually, like, it seems like a very intriguing idea, like looking at life from the eyes of you just floating and looking at how people react to your absence. You know,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
did they really care? Do they really miss you? Did they just wanted
Yeah.
to be with you because of needing something from you?
I mean, that's a question I'm asking. Is it grief that Summer is gone and won't live to, you know, have, you know, her career or fulfill her destiny, maybe as a mother or maybe as a traveler or this great career woman? Or is it because they're going to have to miss Summer? I really sort of delve into grief and what it means to each person. And also our funerals, a lot of people come, a lot of people read Quran, a lot of people sitting in the back having some tea and having a little bit of a gossip. You know, so I kind of, yeah, I've been to these funerals. You know, you leave your shoes outside, you come out, somebody's stolen them.
You're
So
going back barefoot home.
yeah, exactly, happened to me once. So I'm kind of dealing with all of the aspects of the way that we bury. Of course, as you know, we bury them within, 24 hours.
Yeah.
Summer has to wait because her parents are traveling, has to wait until they get back to Oman. You know, about the different kinds of grief for different sort of generations, how we deal with everything. And also Summer the whole time is seeing something in the present and relating it to something in her past. So it's all these different flashbacks as well of her life. She was born in England and then they moved to Oman and she hated it at first, but then, you know, so it's all these different flashbacks to make her who she is and make her family who they are, being exiled from Zanzibar as well, how much trauma that can have on an entire generation of people. You know, so imagine like you're from this beautiful island and then suddenly you end up, my mum, there's 7 siblings, they have 5 different passports between the 7 of them. They're all from here, but because of a revolution, they're Omani, Emirati, Yemeni, British, you know what I mean? So they have all these different nationalities between them. And suddenly you find yourself in this strange country. And then you have people like me who are born in that strange country. So for me, my first language is English because they're like, we have to assimilate, we have to fit in. We don't want people calling us Paki or Wog or things like that on the street. So you will speak English as a native English speaker. So my English is perfect,
Yeah.
but my Swahili is rubbish. So now we've got this first generation born in a new place. You've got their trauma of being exiled. You've got my generational trauma, which is they're telling us this is your religion, this is your culture, but they're also telling you to be as English as you can.
Yeah, like it's such an orthodox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you, like, beginning as a, let's say I have a friend who want to start a journey in singing. What
Mhm.
can you tell her from, for example, mistakes which you have done along the way, where you might not do again? What advice can you give her from your journey?
From my journey, I guess, I'm very lucky, alhamdulillah. I don't think that I've made any mistakes. Actually, I was very, very blessed because I started small, like the big fish in the small pond. Even a small fish in a small pond. A small fish in an empty pond, let's call mussels.
A small fish and no other fish in the pond.
The only fish.
The only fish in the pond.
So I was lucky to start like that. That's how I learned my craft. And then, singing in the piano bar at the Crown Plaza, learning my craft. So I was able to, I had all this beautiful space to learn how to do what I was doing. One thing I haven't done is I haven't had any singing lessons.
Mm-hmm.
So I would advise singing lessons. Learn your craft, learn your voice, learn where you'd like to sit, learn the style of music that suits you best. And then I guess if she hasn't done any singing yet, go to karaoke nights, go to open mic nights, get on stage, because you might find out, like a boxer who's got really, really strong, gets on stage, first fight, finds out he has a glass jaw.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you might be an incredible singer, you get on stage and you're like a mop just standing there. So, don't have fear of being on stage and performing to people, looking at people, feeding off them off you. So just like, if she has no experience at all, karaoke, open mic nights.
Let me go back to summer a little bit.
Yes,
I'm intrigued
please.
by a question. Do you think that now her floating, like, what might she expect from monitoring life? How would that affect her as someone who's floating, watching how others are reacting to her absence?
It's funny because during the, as you say, floating hours, let's say,
Yeah.
while she's near her body, she learns a lot.
Hmm.
She was, you'd have to read the book to understand why she was so angry.
Mm-hmm.
But during the floating hours, I like that, floating hours. During the floating hours, she learns to understand her mom a bit better, learns to appreciate her family as a whole, the larger family. She calls it the family with capital T and capital F because they're like the mafia. So she learns to appreciate them more because, they're annoying and they're nosy, but also when somebody dies, they're there with the cloths and the bukhur, they're there with the mats and the water and the dates and the carpets to put everywhere. They're just like a well-oiled machine. Everything comes together and they're there to support each other. So even though she's like pissed, angry with them the whole time, she sorry,
It's all right.
she ends up learning a lot. She learns, about forgiveness, about letting things go, about understanding people. And that was, it's kind of my journey as well. I'm actually really glad that I wrote this book. It helped me a lot as well.
Salha, where do you think that family fits in the journey of a human? In other words, do you think that parents, their role is to guide us into the life which they see fits for us? Or is their role only to guide us into thinking properly and taking the, let's say, best what's it called? Best choices in life, let's say. What's the role of family?
To try and not screw us up.
How so? Because like I've spoken to many people,
Yeah.
and the role of family, they leave such a profound feeling on us.
I mean, the
Whether
biggest,
it's
right? The biggest.
yes,
Everything that you are comes from those first 7 years, right? Because I was talking to a therapist, and the ego of a child, you can't conceive of your parents. Say that you have a traditional mum, dad, you are that triangle, and you cannot conceive of those people existing outside of their connection to you. That's how egotistical a child is. They exist because of you. That's why kids, if they get divorced, they think it was their fault. And just development wise, I was going to try and say a word, not without water, not today. Until the age of 7, you can't reason. So if somebody says that you're fat, for example, as a little girl, you just take that as gospel, and you will have eating disorders for the rest of your life, because you can't reason and say they only said that because, or it's just the dress, it makes me look a little bit chubby, or don't I look cute, I'm 5 and chubby. Like, you can't reason. So the things that happen to you until the age of 7, and I'm talking like dark things like sexual abuse and stuff like that, they will inform everything that you are, right? So having good parents, firstly, who are ready. This idea of being forced to have kids because everybody should have kids.
yes.
I don't have kids. I'm halas. Oh, but you still time. There's no time. I'm 52 next month. There's no time, and I don't want to have them. This is like this idea of pushing you into it because it's what is done is rubbish.
Very true.
How many people around the world really should not be having children? So first of all, be ready for it, and then it's such a delicate balance what you're doing here. It's not just creating a child who, when you get older, is going to look after you. This is like the worst reason I can think of to have a child, honestly. But what you're doing is like now delicately creating a human being, and you are going to put all of your neuroses into this person. So you better make sure that you're ready, and have tried to work on yourself at least a little bit.
Like
Very
something crossed my mind. You mentioned that not having kids, and I'm someone who don't want to have kids in life as well. While I was developing that idea of why I don't want to do that, I also came across of why do I need to get married? For example, at least in paper, I'm not against having one partner, let's say in a relationship. However, but why do I need to put the federal and the state law government intervene them in my love life? Why do I need to categorize it as a business agreement?
All right.
So where do you think that this fits, for example, in society? Am I thinking properly, or maybe am I doing a mistake? What do you think?
Well, I'm certainly not one to tell you that you're making a mistake. I think that finally, especially for women, because men have been doing this, I don't want kids, or making a child and then running off. Yeah, so for women to say, this is not something I want, is a new thing. And only starting to be accepted, I think. Certainly
true.
not maybe in our cultures,
Yes.
but it's starting to be accepted. Just it'll creep over this way. It'll creep over eastern directions soon enough. And I think that the next frontier is not wanting to have a partner, because a lot of, especially women, are much happier without a man who they have to cook and clean and tidy up for and be their therapist and, you know, all the rest of that. They maybe have met the wrong people the whole time, but no, but seriously, a lot of women are just going, I don't want to do that. And men
Very
too. I
true.
have a friend who doesn't want that either. As far as marriage is concerned, I think as far as if you meet somebody that ticks all the boxes for you, you won't care if it's if the government is involved. In Islam, that's the thing. It's got nothing to do with the government, right? It's between you and your husband. It's more of a trust agreement,
Mhm.
and that's what I like about Islamic marriages is that it's between the two of you. But yeah, in these day and age, you have to register it and everything. But I think once you meet the right person, you don't care who knows.
Like, like now the societies are shifting in a manner where females are growing more independent. So they don't need a man to, let's say, help them in life, in a sense, as society used to be structured before, which is like a positive
Exactly.
thing to have freedom
Absolutely. I love
for
it.
both sexes.
I mean, I love it, honestly. And it's funny because all the studies are coming out. It's the media likes to portray women as being desperate to get married.
True.
Um,
That is what they
Yes,
do.
it really does. Yeah. But actually, the studies show that men are happier in marriages and women are unhappier in marriages. They're happier when they are not married because they're suddenly just indentured servants,
Yes.
unpaid and unappreciated. So they kind of, but society has made it as if we're desperate to get married,
Mhm.
to make it, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant. The whole brainwashing thing is genius. They
Like,
want to get
it's
married,
wonderful.
but we
I
are
have
made
no
to
idea how
be.
do the marketing personnel do it.
I mean, patriarchy has the best propaganda machine. It really does. Almost as good as Israel's. Don't start me off. Do not start me off.
Don't get me
I
going.
was like, my friend got me these earrings actually, and I lost
I
one
wanted
when
to
I was in
comment on
Dubai.
them since we started.
Isn't it
I love
cool?
them.
I love it. I love it. I've lost the other one, but I was having a good time, so I'll sacrifice it to
It's
the.
wonderful. I love watermelon. So, like, the first thing that I noticed about you were the,
So good, huh?
yeah. Salha, do you have
Anytime
any
I
plans
appear.
for the future?
Yes, lots. Actually, here right now we're so we have this little place in Zanzibar, but we've got quite a big plot of land.
Hmm?
So we're building right now a yoga retreat.
Love it.
But yes, it's very cool. We built an Airbnb 2 years ago
Mhm.
because we're just not working enough. Now we live here. We come to Dubai relatively often to sing or to take photographs,
Mhm.
um, but not enough to be a proper income. So we decided once we'd done one season of work, we put the money into an Airbnb, so we rent that out. And alhamdulillah, it's been doing well. So we decided to build another one. So the two of them together is like enough for 18 people. And I've got a yoga studio. I've got another outdoor deck as well. We've got an ice bath. I teach swing yoga and stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that.
love it.
But if it's not open for retreat, it's two separate Airbnbs with pools. So it's kind of
Wonderful.
best of both.
It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yes, it is. As we've got lots of workers here, and unlike the first experience in 2021, we've got good people now, and it's not heartbreaking or stressful. I aged like 3, 4 years when I moved here. It was horrible. But now, alhamdulillah, yeah. So we've got people
Partly
digging
only
a
because of the
pool.
contractors.
Sorry?
Partly only because of the contractors.
No, completely because of the contract. It's completely like unreachable. Um, even my mum and dad sent me some money for my birthday, and the next day he was like, "There's no more money left." And we're like, "But we gave you everything." So I had to take my birthday money and give it to him. Honestly, just like cheating us, lying, disappearing. It was so stressful. So
It
anyway,
says a lot about the
alhamdulillah.
human nature.
You just get the wrong person who just sees you, like I said, as an ATM, and it just taints your experience. Honestly, I was like, let's just go back to Dubai. Let's figure it out. But alhamdulillah, we're sticking it out here, and now we're doubling down and building the retreat. Inshallah, by August, we'd be up and running. And I think it's nice because it's such a beautiful place, and I used to be in heels all the time. Now my feet are just grounded on
Yeah,
the
it's
floor all
grounded
the
with
time.
with the sand.
And the energy of just the trees everywhere. We've got monkeys running through once in a while,
Oh,
and
love it.
it's just, yeah, every day we watch the boats come past, and yeah, alhamdulillah, it's really beautiful. So I think that once the the retreat is open, it will be certainly more of a thing to do every day to focus on. And yeah, I wrote my second book as well, and starting on book 3, 4, and 5, and I can't decide which one to pursue. I know it's I guess just stick to one, choose one and stick to it.
Salha, you're a wonderful person. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time today.
it was really nice. Thank you. It's a
I
pleasure.
enjoy
Thank
talking to you heavily, and I wish you nothing but happiness for you, your family,
you,
and
inshallah.
good luck in your project.
Thank you. Thank you. And
Thank
I
you so
wish the
much,
same
sir.
to you. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Bye bye. Ciao.
Bye.